paid training. So here's what I understand, and you all tell me if I'm wrong about this. This is that there was a time where folks were being released to attend classes. Not, I understand we're talking about non-mandatories. And that stopped, at first because of COVID, and second from a staffing standpoint. And the issue that exists right now is the staffing. Because if we release folks to attend these classes, then we're going to have to cover those with overtime. And so, the commitment that we've, made here, and, let speak to that, is that it's our intent, as soon as we can get our staffing, in order, we will continue doing what we had done in the past with releasing folks to attend these classes.
But they're still taking their own personal leave.
Right, but so why should we pay folks to attend non-mandatory classes when they're doing it for their own advancement?
It's benefiting the jail.
Right, for the bettering.
They pull people to fill sandbags off the shift and don't run overtime to cover them posts. We're doing that for the community. That don't benefit anybody but the community.
Well, isn't that everything that we do here? Is the benefit to the community? I mean, that's the reason why we're here, is to perform work for the community.
Well, these classes, we don't take these classes, quit here because the pay sucks, and we go work at Walmart and use these classes. These classes are strictly, criminal justice type classes. It's for the benefit of the jail. It's not something we can really take with us.
My idea behind it is, what incentives do you guys have right now to bring people in the door?
To make people what?
To bring people in the door.
I would think so.
What are the incentives behind that to increase hiring?
Well, part of it is increasing the starting pay.
Right. But then we're going to be comparable to everybody else. That's not going to be much of an incentive. And then if you take away paid training classes, and then I just went to that daily class where I take my personal time for that, and I actually did get reimbursed for that, so I do thank the food for that. But in there, every other person was sent there, and there was numerous people. I was sent.
Who took away paid training? I thought that's something you don't have that you're asking for.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying the other divisions that I was with was an FDAE class. There was multiple agencies. We had a guy from California, we had a guy from Arkansas, I believe, and they were all sent there by divisions. With multiple other members, all completely paid for. And then showing something as an officer you'd like to look forward to and try to go to. So I mean, if we don't have that, that's one less thing trying to bring people in the door.
And just so I'm clear, when you say in those situations, I understand that the classes were paid for, but you're saying they treated that as hours work
Yes.
for voluntary, for non-mandatories?
Yes.
Yeah, that hasn't been my experience, but I'm not doubting what you say.
That's what I agree that it's, I mean,
Yeah.
I just don't see the allure of coming to work for Blue Sky, unfortunately. On the outside, if I wasn't there, I feel like I'm pretty well established. I've been there for 7 years. But if I was coming up now and looking at law enforcement, I'd probably not pick Blue Sky, unfortunately. I think we do need more incentives, and I think that's why we're asking for that little bit extra, to try to make people in the door, because our last time we figured out it was 7 position short, and that's about $4 million a year. And that was based on regular officer pay, not the senior officer pay. That's a lot.
I guess I don't necessarily agree that if we go ahead and we allow 3 officers off per 6 months, based on seniority, that's going to cause anybody to say, oh, I want to come work for Volusia.
Yeah, but the problem is you're running a jail, dangerously low on staff. You're running units below the having the 2 officers. You're opening up security gates when you shouldn't be opening up security gates. We had a member of management walk through with Sergeant Moreno. There's a danger here to the officers, to the people that are incarcerated. There's a danger going on. You have to fill these positions. These guys can't do it. They can't respond to a code with 2 people. You gotta have the staff. And that's where I think the county's failing. There's a responsibility to the citizens to have a safe place for people to be incarcerated, whether it's a DUI, whatever. They have a responsibility to have a secure place to go. And when you don't have the staff, you can look nationwide what happens when you're short-staffed. That's the problem, and that's on the county. The county's failing right now with this. There is danger here in this jail, and something's gonna happen, and we're sitting here negotiating on 1% for years 2 and 3. What happens when somebody gets killed, or another inmate gets beat to death? Because you guys don't have staff. That's an issue.
And the 1% is gonna cause us to become fully staffed.
Well, I mean,
It's better than
is it, what are you saying if it's not? I don't know how to fix it. You don't have people coming in. You're still losing people. How do you fix it? What's the problem? And we keep coming back here, these guys have begged and begged and begged and begged.
Yeah, but what we're talking about here and what you're proposing is to, you know, to give more time off. How does that help?
That's only one thing.
Well, but that's what we were just talking
Right,
about.
but it's a whole group of things. I mean, you're going into a negative environment already, correct? I mean, nobody wants to be in jail, the officers, the people that are incarcerated, nobody wants to be in. It's a negative environment. So you're sitting there for 12 hours a day, and you don't even get your scheduled days off. You have to go in there on your scheduled days off, so it just adds. You know, so we even had, I'm sure you're familiar, a doctor say that 10 days of overtime, or 10 days in a row, is too much. And these guys are doing 10 days in a row. It's not fair to them. It's a health concern. There's a lot, I mean, how do we fix it? So we're asking you, we're arguing over a percentage on years 2 and 3. I don't know what the answer is. I think it would help. Whether you brought up Orange County, whether it does or it doesn't, we don't know because we haven't tried. But the guys that are sitting here on the fence, not these guys, the guys that are sitting here on the fence getting ready to leave for someplace else are watching this. How do we keep these other, what is it, 7 or 8? 7 or 8 more people that are ready to leave? How do we keep them from leaving?
The upcoming pay proposal for the upcoming year, where we've front-loaded it.
You think that's gonna, okay. They talk to the membership, so Jeff, I get it, you're taking orders from the county, they're taking their orders from the rank and file, so we're here as a voice for the rank and file, we're trying to explain to you that what was proposed is, it's not well received. And I think the percentage on year 2 or 3 doesn't make any sense to me. That doesn't make any sense to me. Because I don't know what the cost of that is. I mean, if you would ask me how to do it, I'd get rid of 2 warden's positions and fund it with that. That's how I do it. But I don't know. I don't know how they're frustrated. There's a lot of animosity, and people are just ready to give up. And I'm talking the bargaining. So they wanted me to bring this up. How do we fix this? Look at it. They're pissed. How do we get past this 1% in year 2 and 3 and have a dialogue where we can fix the jail? They want to fix the jail, they wouldn't still be here working for the jail. So, it just, like I said, it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't sit here and look at all your numbers. We understand that it's going up 17%. You've got all those short positions. I can't see that 1% in year 2 and 3 being that much.
Well, here's where I would disagree with you on that. Yes, you know, we're that 1% apart on the second and third year. Obviously, we're going to keep talking about that.
Right, yeah.
And, you know, we've always found a way to work out a deal, and I'm sure we'll ultimately have to work out a deal. But I don't think that just because we're in disagreement on the increase for the second and third year means that we're not willing to talk and work with you in an effort to try to resolve some of the issues. You know, including, I thought that's part of the reason why we're, you know, looking at changing the overtime policy to kind of address those issues. And look, when we negotiated last time, you all came to the table and said, we got a big problem here. You know, how can we fix it? We ended up working something out. We thought it was going to fix it. You know, it didn't. But you came back and said, we still got a problem. And, you know, I never turned around and said, hey, you know, now you got to bring it to the table and we're going to discuss and debate it. My position was is get together and work something out that's mutually beneficial to everybody. And I think, you know, there has been an indication that management is willing to work with you all to address some of these issues. Now, do I have an answer for everything? No, I don't. And you know, we negotiate enough contracts together, and I negotiate plenty where, you know, their folks are having problems with recruitment and retention. It's just a fact it's a fact of life, and everybody's trying to do the best they can, you know, within the constraints that they have. And that's really what we're doing here. You know, I'm not gonna sit here, and you know how I negotiate. I'm not gonna, you know, you guys are wrong, you're idiots, you're ungrateful. I don't do that. Because we have, you know, because we have constructive dialogues here.
Right, but I want you to, I think it's important to understand that when we come back, we go back to the membership. These guys go right back to the membership. And you guys pissed off membership, okay? They're mad. We're trying to get something, we would like to have something by October, some kind of agreement by October, because the fear is you're gonna lose a bunch more people if we don't have something on the, and then what happens? It just compounds. And then the overtime stuff that they've worked out already is gonna be out the window, because now you have more staff. It's just, it keeps going. And it just, it's like a snowball rolling downhill. I don't know, but I just think it's, for me, the 1% for years 2 and 3, if that would make them happy, for the 1% for years 2 and 3, I don't understand. I know it's not your position. I don't understand the county's position, why that's such a big deal. I can't calculate it, knowing that we're so short. And you've got safety issues. You've got to address the safety issues. And I mean, he can't do it with the staffing if he doesn't have staff. So, I mean, that's where we're at, and it is a big concern. Because I don't want to end up having to go to somebody's funeral because they got staff, right? They just found a bunch of knives on the unit. So there is legitimate safety concerns. It's in support, because somebody's eventually going to get it.
That inmate had a shank in his hand and was gonna go stab that officer, had that use of force not looked good. That's per Smith. He was going to stab that
I
officer.
mean, when we're sitting here, guys, we don't want to sound like, ungrateful, selfish people. But there is a reason that you can't get people to go work in jail. It sucks. And when you got a job that sucks that bad or it's that dangerous, you gotta compensate. And I don't know, I just, like I said, when I worked there, I haven't seen shanks like that. And so it's kind of a big deal. And we don't want anybody else to. We want to keep everybody we can. And so, we're just going down, we're doing our bargaining session, this is what we do. Their members are getting more and more pissed. So I think there's like a kind of a time-sensitive stuff. So how do we stop another exodus from happening? Well, so that we don't just replace what we're going to have leaving. We just need to do something. And I'd like to take that back to whoever you take it back to.
Well, you know I would.
Yeah, but I think
Yeah,
it's not just, there are some legitimate concerns.
Great. You know me, I'm not gonna go back and say, hey, they raised this, they're a bunch of whiny babies, and they don't have legitimate concerns. I mean,
Right.
we can't have a constructive dialogue, unless we listen to each other and hear what you're saying. Steve, is there anything you want to say in response to any of that?
Just go back on the pay training. The only thing that I'd like to talk about that on is the overtime that it does create. We've talked about possibly filling it. But what I want you to understand is we're trying to find alternative ways to do the mandatory training on shift. Sergeant Miller's done a great job doing that, so that when we start having these staffing levels come up, we don't have to use it to fill DT and range if we can find alternative ways. That way we can get the Daytona State. We have sat down with training to recognize the classes that we've budgeted for next fiscal year. However, my main concern is the training issue, is the staffing levels with it. I recognize the fact that you want to train your people to keep them retained, but one of the biggest things that I hear on top of that is they're working too much. So it's a balance that right now our staffing level is causing us not to send them training. We do try to do small, like yourself, and try to do some of those just to show that we want this. However, for the big picture, for what you want, it's unfortunately tied to, if I start running these classes, it's going to bring the other side up, which is going to bring in the fatigue because of the overtime, and if their response is going to be down, and then they're going to put themselves in a dangerous situation, and I won't do that. I will not put them in, a dangerous situation to where they're going to be tired. I do everything possible to steer away from that because of staff safety, and I do take the fatigue factor into it.
So it is a plan that we are working on. It is already in for the budget for the classes, so it is there. So we're hoping that our staffing levels, I wish I had the actual number that goes in the pipe right now as far as backgrounds, medical, and all that, so that I could give and show you that, but I don't have that available right this second. But that is, one is tied to the other, and that is the goal. That's the short and long-term goal, is to bring up training, because I understand the value of training. I see it, I've been part of it in the past, and I want it back to what it was. But it's gonna take steps.
Is anything changing with the hiring process with Chitwood taking over Beach? Is that gonna affect Vanis working for the jail or doing the IAs? Is any of that taking place to where that could screw up hiring again?
We have, as you guys know, we moved Officer Bertrand over to that because we understand the need for that process to be as seamless as possible. So right now, we're calculating with everything that we've worked with the other departments in the county that we can get, give or take, 45 days from application to in the door. The issue with that does take it so long is that we're reliant on the applicant to get that application, that background packet back. So when they get the background packet back, Bertrand right now, within the week, has it completed, turned over his recommendation. The issue is going from the PAT test, handing them the packet, to getting it back to us. So we're looking at alternate ways to speed that up. It has nothing to do with Captain Vanis and IA. We have recognized that. We've worked with Public Protections to separate the two and only use Captain Vanis as a resource when we need a SCBA done that we don't have somebody on. So we have worked around so that that isn't an obstacle for us. It's now an asset that, hey, we don't have anybody that can do it this day. Can you help us out?
Is there anything on PAT testing and tobacco policy from you guys as far as allowing officers to use tobacco, because that could help us get staff? I helped Officer Davis make some phone calls about a month ago, and I had a gentleman super interested. The moment I told him no tobacco, he says not interested.
Look, I understand the staffing implications. It's a discussion that we have at the bargaining table in a lot of different places. But at the end of the day, it doesn't benefit us from the standpoint of bringing on folks who have potential higher healthcare costs, impact our insurance. I mean, pretty much everybody's moving away from smoking. And if we were sitting here at the table, 10, 15, 20 years ago, I would be looking across and I'd see people that, regularly use tobacco products. But the reality situation is that is dwindling, and I think anything we can do to, cause folks not to use tobacco products is in everybody's best interest.
It doesn't help us get people to do it. It's dangerous. It's really dangerous. When we have to respond to a code, we might have 2 people. If we don't have any tools in our pocket, if we don't have a taser, a pepper ball launcher or something, we might not be going in that cell until we have adequate staff. Where's the adequate staff? It's not there.
So the tobacco policy is not countywide, it's just first responders, correct?
I assume it's just first responders.
So your regular office employees.
Right, yeah. I mean,
So we're
it's
still
the folks that
hiring on everybody else.
It's the folks that are covered by the parking law.
Can I just make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Don't test for nicotine. Nicotine's not tobacco. So if you're on,
Try.
if you're on Facebook, you have a cigarette, then you're smoking tobacco, but if you don't have
Well, there's nothing in the heart lung that says tobacco is a disqualifier for heart lung.
Right, that's the whole point, is that it's not a disqualifier for heart and lung. Different than, the firefighter cancer presumption. And so, yes, that's the issue, is that you can go ahead and smoke, increase your likelihood of having heart disease and lung disease, and it's, covered as a workplace injury, notwithstanding the fact that you've done something that has contributed, knowingly done something to contribute to it, and that's the issue.
So what's the difference between us and an office employee that the county's hiring on that doesn't work out?
Because they're not subject to the heart and lung.
But they're covered by the same insurance and we can't bring people on.
Seminole County, they can smoke,
That's
they're
what
covered by
all the
it.
other ones are.
That's the choice they make.
Anything on the Pat test?
The sheriffs always have a lot more discretion when it comes to stuff like that.
Anything on the Pat test?
That is waiting for the new director to get in. It was previously set up with the decision of that director, so we're waiting for him to come in.
We won't stand in the way of the current director if he wants to change it.
Out of respect to the incoming director, I'm going to pass. Thank you.
I tried that a few weeks ago.
It was good, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I guess we'll do a quick caucus.
Yeah, we're going to do a caucus as well.
Mr. Swanson, without ranking, would you like to get rid of the Pat test?
Please.